attention. Today is Tuesday, March 30th, and this is Grow Your Business Session. I'm Bill Boyd. I'll be your moderator, and your panelists today are Ken Ritucci and Ron Markus. And this session is Grow Your Business, and I'd like to start off. I gave a fairly large handout, and I'm not going to cover it all. I'm just going to get a couple of quick highlights, and then I'm going to pass it over to the panelists who are knowledgeable, experienced, and then we'll put it up for questions. And I start off with my little handout, and I say before we can know how to grow our business, we have to recognize that we have a business. The vast majority of people think of a business when they drive down the street and they see the storefronts and the banks and the drugstores and all of these fancy malls, and they say, there's a business, or they go by a factory, there's a business. Well, in today's marketplace, we've also added a whole lot of other things, and I'm in the printing business. I'm one of these storefront people that you'll see. I put ink on paper to make a living. Many of my clients run businesses out of their home, and some very successful ones. I have one lady who does banking software design from her house. She makes about $1.25 million a year designing bank software worldwide, working right out of her house. So any business can be run from the home. We're square dance callers, and I would say that 90% of the square dance callers, if not 100% of the square dance callers, actually work out of their house and they have a business. The next question is, how many of them treat it like a business? And there is where the problem comes in, because we forget that in a business, it's very, very challenging to discipline yourself to do all of the things necessary to make your business grow. How many hours a day do you devote to your actual, quote, calling business? For the vast majority of us treat it as a hobby. When I went into business for the first time, I was told that there's only 3 reasons a business will fail: undercapitalization, mismanagement, and under-advertising. And I say to you this: the fact that square dancing is still in existence today means that we're doing something right, or we're offering a product or a service that's in high demand. And we don't think of it as a product or service in high demand. And before I turn this over to the panelists, I said, what would happen? And there's a sample of this written up in their thing. What would happen if you combined a bunch of clubs in one given area? Well, now I go on the air. If you combined a variety of clubs in the area and then went to an advertising agency and said, okay, here's $5,000. I want an advertising program put together with radio, television, newspaper, perhaps even billboards, and I want a live radio remote at probably one of your larger and more successful clubs on this particular night. Don't advertise it for Square Dancer. Make that your open dance night for anybody and everybody. With that money combined, you could do it. And I cite the example of Central Florida. Central Florida has got 1.5 million people. Wouldn't it be terrible if you only got 2% return on that investment? Where would you put all the dancers? The problem you run into is, the thing that I frequently hear is everybody has been asked about square dancing, everybody knows about square dancing, and they are not interested. And my answer to that is, if you pick up the phone book and start making telephone calls from top to bottom, you'll find that virtually less than 0.1% of the people in your area even know that a square dance club exists. So one of our first and most immediate problems is marketing, and the second one is face-to-face, belly-to-belly, nose-to-nose salesmanship, getting out there and handing somebody up. One of the things that I made out, and I gave everyone one of these, is a slick postcard. Now, this is just one idea. You could take this out, drop it in stores, drugstores, 7-Elevens, local bars, wherever you wanted to put them out. Most people will let you put something on the front counter. They might throw them away after a day or two. Go back and refill them. Put some out. Or you could expand upon that and make a full-blown postcard and mail it out. Now, this just happened to me. Folks, color sells. We go out with our advertising brochures that we have today, and it looks like something out of the 1920s, and we lay it out in front of people. That's not the way to attract the new, younger crowd. Give them something colorful, bright. You could have these postcards made up most places for like $300 or $400 for 1,000 postcards. And you'd be surprised at how fast you go through 1,000 postcards putting them out. And if you wanted to do a direct mail campaign, the cost goes way up. I know, I did it. But it works. So if you want to grow your business, first and foremost, know that you have a business. Do that. That is for the Square Dance Club. That's not the individual caller part of it. Almost every caller that I know, and then I'm going to turn this over to the other people, makes a whole lot more money from one-night parties. You can go on the internet, or you can do whatever you want to advertise that one-night party. The problem is with that, you make the money, but very few of those people that ever go to one-night party, no matter how much fun they have, ever turn around and go back and join a Square Dance Club. So, with that in mind, Ken, what do you got?
Hello. Oh, hello. Just before I get started, the handouts are up front, but to my left is a form that if you do not have access to the internet or you don't have a computer and you want to get advertised as a caller on the Cedar website, Vic and Debbie's, there's a form you can fill out here and physically mail back to them, and they will load you into the system. It's if you're not on Cedar.net, it's a great resource for square dancing and for callers and dancers and clubs. So please, if you would like to get on Cedar.net and you can't do it over the computer, please pick up a form, and then next to it is an example of what it would look like if you provide them with a photo and all the information on your clubs and your schedule and everything. And this is exactly what it would look like online. So if somebody was looking to find you and find out more about you, it would look something like this, depending on how much information you give them.
How much do they charge for that?
There's no charge for that. It's absolutely free. No charge, and it's a great resource. I use that website whenever I'm looking for a caller's email address or phone number all the time. So please, if you're not on Cedar.net, and I'm speaking to the callers here or to the partners who are going to go back to their significant others or maybe filling in, they've gone to another session, please let them know Cedar.net is a place to be for being on there, as well as Palomino, Docido.com. They keep a website of a list of callers, and there's no charge for that either. I looked over Ron Markus's handout because I wanted to make sure we didn't duplicate our efforts. And Ron, we don't. And Ron's got great stuff. He's going to drill down more into specifics. I'm going to talk more on maybe a 20,000 feet level. And I can only give really my own personal experiences of what had made me successful or not successful. I'm fortunate that my whole career, for the most part, other than teaching school for 2 years out of college, I am in professional sales. I'm always in sales mode, as I know some people in the activity are always in sales mode. The name of this session is to make your business grow. I do look at my Square Dance Calling or Square Dance Calling in general as a business, and I'm always interested in trying to make my business grow. And if there's anything that I could say that can help you and you can take away a few little nuggets, that would be great. Bill runs a business, and he makes that grow and is successful. He is a relatively newer caller, and he's making that business grow. I don't know what Ron's profession is other than calling. Maybe he's retired, but he's been very successful, and he's successful in calling, so he'll have his ideas. But on my sheet, it's just a little one-page thing, and the first thing is understanding your business. I think many times people get into calling and they don't really understand why they're going to get into it. I mean, they may have an idea. Maybe the local club's asked them to start teaching a class, or callers moved away or passed away, or they just want to do fun nights. They just want to do one-night stands, things like that. But you should have a good understanding of your business and what it entails. And the business means anything from calling dances to interacting with the whole activity on either a national or a regional or local level. I think to grow your business, you need to work with the entire activity. That means you need to work with round dance leaders. You need to work with other square dance leaders, square dancers in clubs, obviously other callers. Join a caller association if you don't belong to one. If you live near multiple cities, or maybe a state association, maybe a regional, join them both. Obviously, you're here, so you belong to the national one, which is great, the International Association. And also working with the non-dancing activity. I guess the good thing about calling is everybody has a place within our activity. I know I'm never going to be a very high-level challenge caller. That's not me. That's not what I'm going to do. I don't lose sleep over it. We have excellent callers who do that. And I think as you try to grow your business, you should try to realize your limitations. It doesn't mean that, for example, I can't call a high-level challenge, but I certainly won't do it as justice as the ones who do it more professionally than I do. However, there are things that I do that some of them might not do. So everybody's got their own fit. If just calling fun nights and one-night stands is what you want to do, then be the best at it, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you just want to be a local club caller and teach for your club and maybe call for a few clubs in a local regional area, there's nothing wrong with that. If you have desires to be a big national caller and travel all over the world, that's going to take some work. And all of this takes work. Sales takes work. My personal job takes work. I can't make a sale if I don't put anything into it. Number 3 was, what do I want to be, and know your limitations. I touched on that, but that's very important because sometimes we overreach. We want to be more than we ultimately will be. I guess in business that's sometimes called the Peter Principle, where you reach your level, and sometimes you'll see people and again, we're just really talking about calling activity, but this might affect the outside world or the people you come across in, that they don't quite see it, and they keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Well, I think you really need to know your limitations. You need to be honest about that. We all want to be all that we can be, as the Army says. We all want to be everything, but we can't all be everything. And as soon as we realize that, I think we will be less frustrated. No matter who you hear call and how great a job they do, I'm not going to be some of them. They're not going to be me, and that doesn't bother me because I'm very comfortable now with who I am and what I do. But that takes a long time. Calling is selling. Obviously, you're here for a reason. I'll kid you not, calling is selling. When you're up on the stage, maybe you don't think about it, but you're basically selling yourself. You're selling yourself at least to be accepted for that one tip if it's at a festival, or you want the dancers at a dance to enjoy the dance. I don't know of anyone who's ever gotten up there saying, I hope nobody likes me tonight. I mean, you want to be liked. You want to make sure the dancers have a great time. That goes probably without saying. But calling is selling, and the art of selling is within our activity and everything we do. Every handshake, every person you meet could be somebody that could possibly help make your business grow down the road. It may not happen right away. It might take 5 years. Sometimes you get a call from a club saying, we danced to you 3 years ago. We'd like to know if you'd like to call for us. If you sit by the telephone after you meet somebody who says, give me your business card. We really love for you to call for us. And then you wait by the phone, the next day. You may be waiting a long time. But I also have to say that that the selling has become a little bit easier through the internet now, because most of my dates I get now are through the internet. I get very few phone calls, and I very rarely now get any letters. Used to get letters from clubs, and they'd say, these are the upcoming dance season. Please circle the ones you're available and then mail back to us. And that could take weeks, sometimes months. They don't get back to you. Nowadays, there's no reason why your business can't grow faster through the art of internet or Facebook. I do business on Facebook. I think it's wonderful. Basically, I look at myself as an independent business agent. That's what I feel I am. I don't work for a Square Dance Callers will get you business R Us company. There's nobody out there making phone calls for me. I don't have any operators standing by on phones making calls to thousands of people around the world to get me more business. It's basically me. But it's also networking is very strong too. Coming to meetings like this, going to local callers meetings, going to a dance, exchanging business cards. Those are all things that can help. I have no problem helping callers who come through my area to get dances, and sometimes it reciprocates the other way where they help me get dances when I'm in their area. And that's just good business sense anyway. And I don't mind doing it because they're my friends. And even if I don't know them that well, I don't have a problem trying to get them work based on their skill level. Number 6 I wrote was repeat business means something is working. I would like to think, and again, I'm speaking of me personally, I'll use myself as an example, good or bad. After 35 years of calling, I thought, well, after 35 years of calling, if I'm not doing something right, I would have known a long time ago. So I must be doing something okay, because I do get repeat business, as I'm sure many of you do, or many of your partners do. And that's a good sign, just like the printing business. It's not like you had 20 jobs and then you never got another one. They come back, and you have repeat customers, and they have referrals, and they bring in new people, and your business grows. Same way with Square Dance Calling. You may get repeat bookings with the same club or the same groups. Sometimes it might be on a yearly basis, might be every other year, it might be every 5 years. But if you're getting repeat dates, then that's a sign that your business is growing, that something's working, and that's a good sign. And the last thing I want to talk about was you won't make every sale. As much as, we might all want to be on every weekend and every festival in our minds, the reality is we're not gonna. I'm not gonna. And sometimes things fall through. Maybe it's no fault of your own. In some cases, eventually what happens is you get scheduling conflicts. You take dates, and in our business, we take dates, 2, 3, 4 years down the line. So you may have made a commitment for a club or a couple of clubs on a weekend, and a year and a half later you get asked to do a festival. Well, you can't, ethically it's not right to just, push those two aside and take the festival. I mean, you're booked. So sometimes conflicts come in, and you can't do everything you want to do. You may not always get what you want to get, but that, again, is the nature of business, and it's the nature of my personal job. I don't make every sale. And there's competition, just like there is in calling, although we don't really call it competition, but there's a lot of great callers out there. And as great as we are, or we think we are, there's callers that are just as great or good or better or more that can handle the dances and the jobs just as well. And that's fine, because in this business, we try to tend to be all friends. I'm not personal friends with any of the sales reps that compete with the company against the one I work for. I don't know them. I'm trying to get business like they are. They're not personal friends, but a lot of my quote, for lack of a better word, competition of other callers, well, they are my friends, and they are my personal friends. And I think as I tell callers at my caller school every year, I think if you treat people right, and this isn't a calling thing, it's a human nature business thing. If you treat people right, you fly straight in this business, it will come back, tenfold to help you out. If my business is very cutthroat sometimes in the sales organizations outside, whether it's a product or a service, and sometimes sales reps have been gotten into trouble because they've used unethical business tactics. I choose not to want to work that way, and I hope nobody would, because in the end, I think we're all in it for the good of everybody, not just ourselves. We're in it for the good, because if we can't help our business grow and we can't help the square dance business grow, then we're not in a business. So really, we need each other. One way or another, we need each other. And that's just a quick outline from the 30,000 feet. But I think Ron drills down into more specific ways. I don't know, some of you might be doing some of these already, and some of you might not, but Ron's going to explain that. Thank you.
We'll take questions anytime. Yeah, all questions come over a microphone, and you have to state your name and where you're from first, please.
I'm Sally Ann, married to Don Batchelder from the Western Massachusetts area. Ken knows as well. I just wondered, Ken, when you have clubs that change the people that are doing the booking and they might not know the person, do you follow the club, so to speak, or do you just not call for that club again?
It depends. That's a good question, because clubs, at least I know in the New England area, well, clubs in general, nobody keeps the position forever, although I know some around the country where they've been programming the callers for 20-something years. The dancers will change in that position. And sometimes what happens is, new dancers come up and they may not know Don, or they won't know me. And so Don, or I'll use Don as an example since you asked, he may not get booked back for that club for a few years. That's just part of the business. But also, and that's a good point, I don't wait for somebody to book me thinking because of that. I try to be more proactive, because the way I look at it as a business, I have a calendar I want to fill, and I want to fill that calendar, and I will go to work trying to fill that calendar. I won't wait for a club, even if I've called for them for 5 years in a row, and now they've changed the programmer. I personally won't wait for that. I'll probably say something at a dance, or many times the clubs will. They'll probably come up to Don and say, well, we haven't started working on next year yet, but, we'd love to have you back, or we're booking 2 years in advance, but, we'll get in touch with you. Now, if they don't say that, it's not the end of the world. I really think, as I said, calling us independent business agents, you really have to sort of hustle and go out there and find work.
I want to give one more example of what Ken did here. Is he comes down to Florida to call, and he's booked to call the Winterfest Festival. He immediately started calling clubs around the area and say, I'm going to be down in Florida. Do you have an opening for a guest caller? He's selling himself.
One other thing, Ron, I'm sorry. Probably 10 years ago, I probably would have felt really queasy about doing that now. But, I don't anymore, because, like I said, after 35 years, if I'm not good enough, to call for a club in an area that doesn't know me, then I shouldn't be in this business. So I have no problems networking myself over the phone. Now, I know people aren't going to know me in every part of the country. That's getting better, but they certainly don't. And so I refer them to my website. And I say, it's got my history there. It's got my picture. It's got my bio. It's got everything about me. And I also say, I have friends in that area that can vouch for me, if you need a reference, just like you do in business. I don't have a problem doing that. Now, sometimes it might not work out. The club may say, well, we only dance second Saturdays, and you're coming in on the third weekend. I don't expect them to change their regiment for me, but I will work to try to get as much work in an area as I can if I'm going to be in that area. I don't have a problem doing that at all.
Now, Ron, quick.
Okay. The subject very quickly. The subject of my profession came up, and I am retired. I am a retired CPA. That's what I did for a living. I've been retired for about a year and a half, I guess. What I want to talk about was on my handout. First of all, it's not on the handout, but there are several intercessions besides this one that could be of interest to you because of trying to work and get your business to grow. For instance, tech marketing. Yesterday at 1 o'clock with Chris Jensen and Steve Cole, how to use the internet to market yourself. If you didn't get to go to it, get the tape. Buy the CD, I guess it would be. Programming festivals. Programming festivals is a bigger deal because it's a longer several dances rather than just an evening dance or one evening dance. But programming is very important to marketing yourself because it's your program is going to, and the way you call and what you call in your program is going to sell you. That was also Monday. I think Ken was doing that. Ken and Dottie Welsh did that one. Exhibition dance groups was another one. Bob Briggs did that one yesterday, and he's very excellent on that sort of thing. If you have an exhibition group that you want to put together or for demonstrations or advertising and helping your business or club grow, that's information there. Calling in schools. Schools are a resource that we can go to for calling. It's not a calling date like an evening dance or a festival or a weekend or something, but it's a place you can go to help grow your business in the schools. An excellent one was this morning, something for nothing, or from nothing. If you start with nothing, you're a new caller, you're already arrived in an area, you've been calling 3, 4, 5 years or what have you, and your job has moved you. How do you start a club? That seminar covered that head to toe. How do you start a club, or how do you get involved in square dancing in that area so people get to know who you are and helping to start a club. The Handy Capable Committee, if you want to work at any point with wheelchair people or handy capable people. There's interesting stuff that they have. Fun with Lessons, that's this afternoon after this one. Vernon Jones and Bear Miller. I can't think of two more appropriate people to chair a seminar called Fun with Lessons. It's how to teach lessons and make them fun and keep them so people feel like they're dancing, not in a class, an academic type environment. Digital music. Before you decide if you are going to get into a situation where you need your own equipment, are you going to use records? Are you going to use mini discs? Are you going to use a CD? You're going to use CDs? You're going to use, make some kind of choice for yourself there and head down that path. If you have questions there, digital music today at 2:45 is also a good one to look at. And last but not least is one called Competition in Schools. It's a committee. It's an ad hoc committee. And this is, again, more information for you about going into a school system and basically setting up, I think what they're going to do is talk about getting into schools for the purposes of having competitions. I mean, schools, one school competes against the other on the baseball diamond. Why not one school compete against another in the square dance world? Maybe it's not going to make you a lot of money, but it'll get your name out there. Mummies and daddies also would come and that sort of thing. So there's tons and tons of resources out there. It's a matter of using imagination and how can I get my name and my calling style and who I am out in the world. I think this is the thing to do. This one last card. I made a note here when Bill held this card up. Do you all have computers? If you have a computer and you've got Word, you have a business card building template right inside of Microsoft Word. And I think the latest one is a really good one, the one that comes with the Vista machines, or I think it's called Microsoft Word 2007, I think it is. It is a business card building template right there inside of Word.
Wait a minute. They need to call their local printer.
Call their local printer first. I know you get some grief over that one. However, startup costs can be kind of astronomical. You're looking at equipment and records and speakers and computers and whatnot else. And if you can save a couple of bucks in startup, then you build your own card, make your own card. And instead of making it a business card, make a business card too, a regular card that has your information on it, name and address and everything. But make another one that says, you've just been patronized by a square dancer. And give that to everybody. You go through the checkout line, give it to the person there. Everybody you see that you deal with, Give them something, and especially if it's close to your lessons. Lessons are starting next Thursday at 7 o'clock at so-and-so place. Put that on the card as well. But you can do that for free, and you can just carry 20 or 30 of them in your pocket all the time, and each time you go to a store, go to a gas station, whatever, hand it out. Maybe that person will just throw it away, but maybe they won't. But it's at least another way to get your name out there, and the fact that you're having lessons out there fairly cheaply. I think probably I didn't do this, but I think it's a good idea for people to at least be thinking along these lines. On my outline, I started with number 1. It says write out a goal statement or a mission statement that clearly that defines your chosen career path. Of course, at this point, if you've been calling for a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, maybe you don't really know what that position, what that career path is. It's difficult to do. I didn't figure out what mine was until about 10 years ago, and I've been calling for 38 years now. I said, okay, this is what I really want to do. I want to be a caller coach. I want to call at home. I don't want to travel anymore. Clubs are getting smaller. Bookings were getting harder. Clubs were folding. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I traveled for 10 or 15 years, and I said, that's enough of that. So I said, I want to be a caller coach. I want to do a caller school once a year or twice a year, and I want to call at home to my home club. And that's what I do. But it took me about 25 years to decide that that's what I wanted to do. It's difficult to do, but if you can sit down and do some soul searching with your partner or with some other people in your area, dancers, knowledgeable dancers who've been around the activity for a while, not brand new people, and talk to them and kind of decide where you want to go. Do you want to be, and I listed these all out here, do you want to be the best club caller in your area? Then, Ken brought this up a little bit. He said, work toward that. Work toward becoming a good club caller, establishing a club, and working with that club. Do you want to call party dances? There are callers in this world, and they're all members of CALLERLAB. All they do is call party dances. But as Bill said, party dances you can get anywhere from $250 up to $500 for a party dance. Especially if you live in a resort area. I don't know where most of you live, but Tucson, where I'm from, is a resort area in the winter. And umpteen jillion people bring their sales organizations and all the executives together, and they bring their wives and their husbands and friends come with them, and they'll go to a hotel and they want to have entertainment one night. Square dance. And they will not blink an eye at $250 and on up. So it's if that's what you want to do, that's one way to look at it. Related to that, down toward the bottom of the list, I think I said something about booking agencies. There are a lot of agencies in you have to find them in your own area. But what they do is they plan parties. They're party planners, and sometimes the parties they plan are pretty big parties. So if you could get your name with them and say, here's what I do, you give them a videotape or not a videotape, like a DVD of you calling so they can hear you and see you. And they can get an idea of what you look like, not just what you sound like, because sometimes what you look like will put you in this party, but not in that party. If you're, for instance, me, as a retired person, they would not want to send me to a teen group that was coming to town. But if it was a little older, more mature group in their 30s or 40s, okay, they would send me. On the other hand, if you have a very young caller, that they may not want to send a very young caller to a retired group or a more mature senior citizen type group. So, but work with the booking agencies. Take a look at do you want to become the best known and most sought after festival caller? If that's what you want to do, like Ken said before, it's doable, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. You have to hone your skills. Your craft has to be nearly impeccable, perfect. To get into that, there's probably 8 people, 10 people in the world that are very well known names, but they've been doing it for a long, long time, and they're very good at what they do. And if you want to do that, that's fine, but recognize it's going to take you some time and effort. Do you want to be a recording artist? Do you want to make records? Do you want to make music? Do you want to produce your own square dance music? Which is another thing I did. I said I want to produce my own square dance music, so we started up a label called Desert Gold. So, and that one was kind of necessity was the mother of invention. I wanted to call I wanted to make a singing call record. And I had a terrible time finding somebody who would do it for me, who would hire me. Okay, I'll do it myself. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it. And it's something that was part of what I decided I want on a goal path. But we did this first one in 93, and I've been calling at that time for 23, 24 years. So it takes some time to come up to what you want to do. But once you can do it, you want to be the best square dance teacher in your area. There are people, square dance callers I know, that they will not do festivals. They will not call for clubs. Other people will come in and call their dances. They like to teach. If you love to teach, then become the best you can be and become a teacher. Do you want to become an accredited caller coach? That was something I decided for myself. I want to do this. I want to get and become an accredited coach. It takes a lot of time and effort to get there and a lot of work, but if you want to do it, you're going to do it. Decide whether that's a part of the path, the career path you want to take. Writing books or articles for square dancing magazines, publications, whether they're local or it's the national magazine, American Square Dance, or for CALLERLAB or whatever it may be. If you're a good writer, maybe that's a path you might want to take. And then of course number J, the one I put under J is just a part of the square dance activity in a way not listed above. I certainly am not the be all end all. There may be something that you'd like to do that fills a need or fills a goal for you in your career, your square dance calling career. That's just I didn't list. Well, that's fine as long as it's what you want to do, and as long as you can write yourself out a mission statement or a goal. This is what I'm going to do. Or a combination of all of the things that I talked about, or ones that you come up with on your own. In general, the question to ask is, where do I want my career to go? What do I want to do with my career? And, Ken said a minute ago, everybody, when you start out, I want to call festivals, I want to make records, I want to teach classes, I want to write articles, I want to call for clubs. And, well, after a while, you find yourself you easily get burned out if you try everything all at once. It just doesn't work. But if you could pick two or three, I think two or three is not bad. I'm producing music, I'm an accredited caller coach, and I'm calling it home. That's it. And that's plenty of time. Plenty of work and time and effort is required to do those three things. If I decided I wanted to start calling festivals, or if I wanted to write articles, then there's more time. Would I be good enough at it to sell these things, or to have people buy from me? Do I have the talent to do that in the first place? Can I develop a talent to do that in the first place? Ken mentioned this also. We're talking about number 2 now, places to look for square dance calling business. A personal website. They're very, very cheap. And how many do you have a website? Anybody have a website of their own? Yeah. Personal websites are marvelous because you type in Ken Ritucci and up comes the website. Yes. Or Roy Gatta, and up comes the website. That's it. With a link to Ken Ritucci's, of course.
That wasn't on the microphone, so I should say that Roy said that's a better website.
Moving along. Anyhow, a personal website is essentially because you can put your picture, you can put sound in it. Here's what click here for a sample of me calling, singing call pad or whatever it may be. Facebook, of course, Facebook is marvelous opportunities out there to put your name out on the world and communicate with people in all over the world. Twitter. I don't know much about Twitter, but I understand there's all sorts of things you can do with Twitter, getting your name out in the world with that. And, of course, YouTube. Make a video of you calling and put it on YouTube. So, other places to go looking, maybe you've thought of these on your own. Hotels, of course, that meshes back in with the booking agencies and the resort type thing. How many of you live in a resort type area, or where you have like I call Tucson a resort area because in the winter we have lots of hotels and huge conventions come in, and of course it's always between about October and March or April, and that's when our snowbirds also show up. But if you live in an area where that has that sort of thing, if you live near the coast, if you live near a vacation spot, it's very likely that people will be coming there not just for vacations, but for conventions and that sort of thing. So take a look at those things. Churches, of course, local churches. They're always looking for good, clean fun. And what is square dancing but good, clean fun? There's no alcohol. There's no smoking. It's good for all ages. We have here a couple of nights ago. There was how old was that little girl who was there? About 7 or 8 years old. Is she 9? Okay, 9 years old, and all the way up to senior citizens. Retired senior citizens. So it's good, clean activity for everybody. Booking agency, I talked about that. Area square dance clubs, you gotta, especially if you're new to an area. If you're going to meet, for instance, if you live in Pennsylvania now and you're moving to Illinois or something, and when you get there, get out once you get boxes unpacked. You can figure out how to get around from point A to point B in your town. Then go to square dance clubs and wear a CALLERLAB badge, or wear a badge that says caller from your previous club or something, and don't expect that they'll hand you the mic immediately. But they may chat with you. They may when these folks get to know you, they've seen you once or twice. At least you get the chance to get on the stage and show the world who you are and what you can do. Very, very good, important thing. Visit, call. Make yourself available to these clubs, and go to the clubs yourself, and sell yourself, as it says over here. Calling is selling, and sell yourself. Sell your abilities. Sell your craft and your best points. Keep in mind. Kind of a trite kind of a thing to say, but it is very true. You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. So don't show up with no preparation whatsoever. If you show up hoping that maybe you'll get to call a guest tip, at least be prepared with something. It doesn't have to be your best rah-rah, wow stuff. Just at least prepare yourself somehow that you're ready to do that sort of thing. Of course, there's always area festivals, state festivals, local festivals that don't hire callers. They have multiple callers, and they're all generally local callers. And keep your eye open for them, even if one is 50 miles away. Sign up so you can get yourself on the program, and that way, or 50 or 100 or 200 miles away, so you can get yourself on the program. And of course, there's the major conventions, the USA West, and the national convention. Try to do what you can to get yourself out there, because all you're doing really is showing the world, here I am. This is me. Do a good job, and pretty people start coming up to you. Would you call when you travel? We have a club over in this town, and well, we could pay you $40. We don't have a very big club. All right, so I'll go. But $40 this time, $40 next time, and I think most of you are probably aware that if you're in this business, if you're square dance callers at the local level, if you're in it to make money, you're in it for the wrong reason. It's just, if the reason you're here is to quit your job and become a highly paid square dance caller, well, you need to have some rethinking. It's, there are people who are making very good livings calling square dances. A few people who are making a little bit of a living, a full-time living, calling square dances and being involved from this activity. But they're few and far between. And most of the people are at the local level, the troops in the trenches, if you will. You're the ones out there training all these people so they can go to these big festivals and dance at these things. So the troops in the trenches is who you are. And other ways to get you. I'm sure you've thought of this. Like I already talked about Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Flyers, the cards. Whether it's this large sales glossy card that you've had printed, or a business card type of thing that you print yourself at home. Anything you can do to help get the word out about who you are. And that's the bottom line here. Get the word out about who you are. Get the word out that you're there. And as Bill said earlier, businesses fail for 3 reasons. One of them is lack of advertising. So what do you have to do? Advertise. Any opportunity you can come up with to advertise and to sell yourself is the best way to do it. Last but not least, and this is a subject for a whole nother seminar that I've done before, keep accurate records. Financial, tax, and dance programs. Especially financial and tax, because when you're starting off, it is a hobby, but there's plenty of rules that allow you to deduct and take as deductions some of the things you do. You have to be careful, and it all depends on how aggressive you want to be in your own personal tax return. But anything you do while you're calling square dances is basically a business expense. And there are rules about how you can't just take loss year after year after year after year and not get somebody in the IRS to start looking and maybe start giving you problems over that. But keep good financial records, and QuickBooks is marvelous. The little basic QuickBooks is all you need, or some form of financial record keeping, and dance program records, especially when you're first starting off. Here's what I called when I went to this club last time. So you don't want to call the same singing call. You don't want to try to use the same material in your patter as you did last time. So especially if you go, if it's a once a month club, if you call on Friday night this month and you call this singing call and that this patter, and you featured Spin the Top that night. Look, keep a record of that. This is what I did. It doesn't have to be a big elaborate thing. You just write on the calendar, called for the Mesa Squares and or Bells and Bows, called Spin the Top, and whatever the name of the singing call was that you used. And that's all it is. And so when you go next time, you can review this. You can say, well, I want to do that again. I better pick out a different singing call. And again, be prepared with you. That's part of the preparation for going from club to club and doing the visiting club thing. I think that's about it. Otherwise, that's my whole outline anyhow.
Okay.
Questions?
We'll take questions, but I want to make a comment. He talked about it was expensive to start up your business of square dancing. If you think of it in terms as a business, and I mentioned this in my handout, it's very inexpensive. If you think that's not true, go down and find out what it costs to start a McDonald's franchise, a Burger King franchise, a Kentucky Fried Chicken, one of these kids' dance studios, and how much it costs after you start up that you've got to give those people back money every month. CALLERLAB doesn't have that. We belong to CALLERLAB. They take care of our insurance, our licensing, and we have, and if you do records, you can buy used records from a retired caller. You can use turntables now that you can buy for less than $1,000 and get a really good turntable. So in effect, for less than $5,000, you have everything you need except the hard work part of going out and selling. And if you're selling yourself, one of the things that I've always commented, never be afraid of rejection. How many times did Babe Ruth strike out? Many more times than he hit home runs. If somebody in today's baseball, and I'll use that as an analogy because I like to, if they hit 300, that means hitting 300, getting on base 1 out of every 3 times they go up, they're considered a superstar. Salespeople usually don't close 1 out of every 3 sales for the people they walk in and cold call on. So don't expect that when you're selling yourself. If you're doing one-night parties and you get calls, when you get the call, that's a head start. And one thing that I want to emphasize about sales, when do you start selling? When you decide to do that. When the phone rings, you better have a smile on your face. And that's me talking, the guy that never smiles. And say, "Hi, this is Bill. Can I help you?" "Well, yes, I understand that you're a square dance caller. We're looking for someone to do a convention." "Oh, yes, absolutely. I'd be delighted to do that," with a smile on your face. "By the way, do you serve alcohol at your convention?" That's a question I like to ask. Because when they say yes, my price just went up. And the second part of that question is, after they get through, "Oh, and what's your budget?" I love that question because, we haven't got anything in mind. I said, the last time I did one of these, I got $600. "Oh, no, we can't do that. We can't go any more than $300, $400. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. But you start with a smile on your face and then get those 2 questions out of the way first. Because if they say their budget's $20, they serve alcohol, and they got 5,000 people, I ain't doing it. Ken?
One other point I should have mentioned. Another way to grow your business is perhaps not you, the caller yourself, but your significant other, your partner, your wife, husband. I know some very, very successful callers in the United States they have wonderful significant others who really do the selling for them, or they're their biggest cheerleader, and they really can help enhance, quote, your business if you want your business to grow. So don't overlook that. I mean, if you're not, if you just feel you don't have it in you to go and in sales we say ask for the order. If you don't have it in you to ask for the order to be a little bit more outgoing, but maybe your partner or significant other is, and they don't have a problem going out there touting you and doing a lot of that. And there's nothing wrong with that because you're a team, you're a couple. Just one quick thing there's an old saying about growing business. It says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Plain English, if we don't ever change what we're doing, how can we expect our business to grow? You have to come out of your shell. You have to do something differently. You have to spend money to make money. You got to go to the conventions. I think depending on what you want to do, if you have ambitions to call on a regional or multi-state level, then you need to spend some money and get to these local festivals and conventions and give your time to these, or go to the national. Like Ron mentioned, it's a great place to market yourself. It's a great place to network and meet new friends and have a great time and support the activity. So those are two other points I forgot to mention.
Are there any questions?
Wait, we'll give you the mic.
He's younger than you, Ken.
Hello, I'm Sally Ann again, married to Don Batchelder from Massachusetts. Yes, didn't move yet. And I just wanted to say about buying equipment, we actually were rear-ended and Don's yak stack smashed totally. So we went on the eBay and found something, and he was thrilled that he was going to get it. However, 2 seconds before it ended, somebody snuck right in and bidded about $5 higher and therefore got the yak stack. So you have to also know how to work the eBay to your advantage, but you can get some really good deals.
That's true. That's happened to us before with auctions on eBay. You get the highest bid for 3 days, and 2 seconds before it's over, bang. Here we go.
Don Yostin, Erie, PA. My question is regarding traveling callers, or traveling beyond where you can drive home in the evening. Occasionally I'll get calls that would require an overnight stay. And the club, what they want to offer, or what I can negotiate for a fee, isn't enough to justify the travel and the hotel and the meals out, and yet I would like to take that date. What do you do? I don't understand how traveling callers set up these things.
Well, I'll tell you what I do, and each trip is different. There are some trips that I might not make as much money on. Sometimes I might break even. It depends on the situation. To me, I look at every opportunity to go around the country as another way to promote further business. And it doesn't personally bother me, that if I don't make money on it or I break even, I'm fine. The ways to cut expenses and things like that is to stay at a dancer's home. Most, if not all, clubs will always offer that, or at least they'll be amicable to having you stay with a dancer for the night. That's going to take away your hotel. They usually, if you get there early enough, you can have supper with them or something, or they're very good about that, or they'll give you breakfast the next day. And then, of course, you call the dance at night. And so if it's drivable, Don, like say you're going to go out into Ohio somewhere, you can, but it's too far to come back after the dance, then it's just the cost of gas and maybe some tolls. But there's ways of working around it. And I'll be honest, not every trip I do makes money, but that's okay because I still feel in some capacity I'm still paying my dues in some ways. And I don't have a problem with that. Of course, then again, I don't do this full-time for a living. I have a full-time job, although it just feels like I do it full-time for a living.
And to continue along that same vein, we'll get right to you in a second and finish it. I know a lady caller from Florida that travels extensively. She's on the road 4 to 6 months out of every year, and she stays at people's homes virtually the entire time. When she books these clubs up ahead, when she's booking, she tries to make arrangements for her to stay somewhere at the same time. So she's constantly traveling, and if it wasn't for staying in people's homes, she'd lose a fortune. As it is, she's making a comfortable living with it.
Another thing to look at is on Don's question is where am I in my calling career? Would it? I'm going to lose money on this because I can't stay with a dancer. I have to stay in a hotel. I have to drive 200 miles or 250 miles one way to get there, and I'm going to get paid $125 for the dance. Well, you're probably going to be out of pocket. But if it's early in your career, then you're at a kind of a bite the bullet stage, and you're really advertising, and yeah, you're going to lose a little bit of money on it. But if that booking gets you into another one, if you do a good job when you get there, they like you, maybe they'll call you back. Other clubs in the same area will call you, and you could set up. Eventually, you could set up a multiple club tour in that area, and in that case, you would be, which is what I did in Colorado. I used to go to Colorado about 3 times a year. One of the first times I went, it was one club, and then there was 2, then 3, and eventually I was doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday over the weekend in Colorado. So weigh not just the money that you're going to get or not get against where you are in your career and how much you want to devote to putting yourself out there to that public. You had a question? Comment. Go ahead. Name first.
Karen Herr, Colorado. So I think a piece that some of you callers forget is us round dance cuers. We're asked by our local clubs, who's a good caller to bring in? We want to bring in somebody from out of state. I think you guys need to make sure you make that contact with the round dance cuers also, because we do get asked that question, and we tell positives and negatives about the callers that we know.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I mentioned that early on. Maybe, I don't know. I said work with the round dance leaders. I mean, I've gotten dates from round dance leaders around the country because I might have know them, and they'll recommend me to a group. So round dance leaders, officers of clubs, people you meet at the conventions or festivals or at a dance, if they have a business card, take their business card and keep a tickler file or set it up electronically in your computer. But you never know when you're going to, need somebody's help or they could use your help. So, again, it's all networking. All this is just business. To me, it's business. It's all networking. It's fun business. I love it. It's great. And that's a good point. Thank you for that. More questions or things that are working for you out there?
Okay, I'm going to make another comment. In the back of the real thick one back there, it says, this thing, work with other callers. We're not in competition with each other. And we've talked about that. We're all in competition with every other entertainment venue. And it mentions CALLERLAB has got a lot of promotional materials you can use. You can get a hold of CALLERLAB. They're loaded with promotional materials. USDA has got many promotions. A lot of this stuff is at no charge or very inexpensive. Docide.com. Tom has got stuff up there, has all the records, the equipment you need. He's got a great website. Vic Cedar has got a great website. And, again, if you came in late, we've got samples to get up here to get on that website, even if you don't have a computer. Running a business is very hard work, but it's tremendously rewarding. Watching your business grow, I don't care if it's a personal business or the calling business, watching it grow and succeed after all the work you put into it, gosh, is that rewarding. It makes you feel good. And that's something that you want to do. You want to feel good about yourself, and you want to feel good about your business. Any more comments from anybody?
Okay. Okay,
thank you. Thank you. Ron Shane, 59th National Square Dance Convention coming up this June in Louisville, Kentucky. The NEC is working on their website a caller profile area of their website. The CALLERLAB and Randall Lab will be getting information out to you shortly because what we're doing, we're having a hard time for years getting caller profiles from the callers that are coming to the convention. So what they're doing, they're going to have this on their website, a caller profile. You put your name in, you put your password in. You put your own password in. You fill out the caller profile. You have a date at the bottom saying when it was revised. You're only one that can go on to that and change anything. That's why you're given a password. This is not only to benefit the upcoming conventions, but it's a great marketing tool. Remember, this is a marketing tool because people, clubs, and callers and festivals can go onto this website and read-only get your photograph, if you have it on there, all your caller profile, so you can be marketed around the world because this will be going to foreign countries and all over the United States. So whenever this comes available, keep checking with it's nsdcnec.com, National Square Dance Convention, National Executive Committee.com. So when this comes, it's a work in progress right now, but it'll be coming up soon. So consider that a great marketing tool for your callers.
Any other questions, comments, success stories, things that are working for?
I have a question. Is that going to be passed along from festival to festival, from national to national? Or is it on? You have to go in each time and put your profile in? It seems like it would be a file that could be passed on from.
Here you go again. Yeah.
It'll be on the website continually, and each upcoming convention will be utilizing it for their caller profiles. But it'll be a marketing tool for your callers and queuers because this will be available all the time. It'll always be there. And the reason for the date. If somebody goes on there and sees that it hasn't been updated in 2 or 3 years, you need to get on there and update your information. But it's a read-only file except for each individual caller or queuer.
And, of course, everybody here is expected to be in Louisville, Kentucky.
My final comment is just if there's anything, most of you in the room know me, but if I could ever be of help, email me or call me or anything I can do to help you or your significant other and helping to grow business, I'll certainly do that.
Likewise from American Square Dance and Bill Boyd, and?
Yeah, I went to, I didn't publish my social security number here, but my email address and my cell phone number are on the handout that I gave out earlier. And anytime you have a question, if you have a question about anything concerning, square dancing and you want to give me a call, I usually have the phone in my pocket all day, and give me a call or write an email. I can get back to you in a day or so. Be glad to help in any way I can. Okay? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. Have a great rest of the convention.